Game Check Live. I'm Matt, this is Art. If you like the show, be sure to hit the subscribe button up there, or hit the thumbs up down below. We've got two apps for you today, as usual, Tiny Towers and 1-Bit Ninja. You can also follow the show on Twitter at GameCheckLive. Alright, let's get started.
Alright, first up today is going to be Tiny Towers. This app scored a 3.25 on the rating scale. Let's take a little closer look. Now this is a freemium app where you build a tower that citizens will move into. Your job is to give them places to live and work within the tower by building the tower higher, floor by floor. You can customize the look and placement of each floor, and even monitor your citizens using an in-game kind of Facebook thing called BitBook. The game also has Game Center integration, so you can view your friends' towers and compare things. So what did you think of the app?
Well, you know, I'm a fan of this type of game. Specifically, Nimblebits, the creator, they also did Pocket Frogs, which is another largely popular freemium game. I like the idea of this Sims Tower-esque feel, if you remember that throwback from kind of, what, the 90s probably? As you build up your tower and the citizens move in, you get to kind of customize their wardrobe. You have to check out to see which jobs they're good at and assign them in the right jobs. That's how you maximize the amount of money you make, and you just continually build your tower up. There's not much of a game aspect to it, really, but it is a good way to kind of just pass time when you're standing in line or something like that.
Yeah, but at times the game can be kind of slow-paced, and it gets kind of repetitive. Also, you don't really have the option to completely customize the characters. You can just choose from presets of each character's wardrobe.
I mean, you are right. There are times when it really does feel like you can get stuck doing nothing, but that's true with most freemium titles, you know, just waiting around for your timers to go off.
It can be kind of boring.
But you do get BitBucks occasionally that you can either purchase in the App Store, or the game does give you them for free occasionally. When you, for example, take someone up to their perfect floor, sometimes they'll give you a tip of a BitBuck. BitBucks let you accelerate the development of floors, merchandise stocking, a whole bunch of various different tasks that you might want to do to accelerate your gameplay. Also, one of the really amusing things in there is that BitBook feature we talked about. That's their version of Facebook. You can go through and they just say all kinds of hilarious little comments, talk about their perfect jobs, or say that they're tired, or that so-and-so acts like a zombie, or, you know, just crazy stuff like that.
It is kind of amusing.
In terms of micromanagement, I mean, there really is a lot to this game, which is nice. So it can keep you busy, keep you coming back, making sure everything is set up perfectly. When I got to my 8th floor, I actually fired all of my employees, set them back up at their perfect jobs, because I had hired new people since then. And I even evicted some people that weren't performing very well, that didn't have high skills at all, and then brought in new people. So, I mean, there really is a lot to the game if you want to just busy yourself with it for a little while.
So, what are you going to give this one?
You know, I would give this game a check, but I'm actually going to bump it up a little bit because I know that there are a lot of people out there that really like this type of game. And even though I don't, I'm going to go ahead and stick my neck out there and kind of be their representative, and I'm going to bump that up to a check plus.
Okay, well, I can see some people enjoying this game. I myself found it to be kind of boring, not a lot happens, and there are large sections of just complete and utter wasted time where, like, I just didn't find it fun in the end. So, I'm going to have to go ahead and give it a check minus. It's not a horrible game, but I just didn't enjoy it. So, in the end, I would say that if you enjoy freemium titles, definitely want to pick up Tiny Towers. If you didn't previously like that kind of game, then this game isn't going to change your mind.
So for our second app today, we have 1-Bit Ninja. It scored a 3.25 on the rating system. Let's take a look at some of those features. It's an old Game Boy-like platformer. It uses a stylized 1-bit engine that mixes 2D and 3D to create for some very interesting gameplay. Simple 2-touch controls, run forward and jump. Uses the same type of jump and squish that you might be used to in the original Mario. Features 4 worlds, each with 5 stages for a total of 20 levels. In each level, you have to collect 5 coins. The game features tons of secrets and Easter eggs as you go through and play with the camera action and tilt it into 3D mode. And it features an original chiptune soundtrack. One thing worth noting is that according to the developer, new levels and stages and features are already in the works. Alright, so what did you think of 1-Bit Ninja?
I like it. It's got that same platformer feel, that whole game feel that you got from like the older Marios and those kind of games, but it also has some interesting new complicated mechanics. The ability to not go backwards is gonna take you at least probably a level or 2 to figure out. It took me, I think, 2 levels to get used to it. Just the fact that you cannot go backwards no matter what.
And that's worth discussing a little bit because it's a bold choice by the developer here. I'm not sure it's a choice that really worked for me. I got frustrated more than I found it a fun mechanic, but it was a bold choice. And what did you think about that?
I thought it was an acceptable mechanic. I didn't really have that big of a problem with it once I got past those first couple of levels that kind of train you into it.
And the developer really does use it as a mechanic. I mean, you actually hit switches that change your directions at times. and things like that. So it's part of the puzzles that you try to solve.
Yeah, so a lot of the coins that you find in the levels can actually be thought of as like mini puzzles, where you gotta figure it out based on the springs and the 2D, 3D switching that you have to do. Yeah, the levels also have a time limit. For most of the levels, as you get farther in the game, you can pretty much ignore. The time limit is not that important. But for some of the earlier levels, that time runs out really quick.
Oh yeah, some of those earlier levels were really challenging because of that time limit. Something that I thought was interesting is it does very much mimic Mario, intentionally. When you get to the last stage in a world, you go through what feels like a castle stage. There is no main bad guy like Bowser or anything like that in the levels that I played yet. I'm not sure about the end. So it definitely does try to mimic Mario.
Right down to the enemies. I don't know if you guys remember Mario, but there were these long poles that would spin around with these swirling fire things. In this game, it's basically the exact same thing, except that it's only one large swirling thing that's spinning around a central point. It's a very clear imitation.
You even jump on a flag post at the end of the level. So.
Yes, you do.
Alright, so we've talked about some of the good things. What are some of the bad things about this game?
I gotta tell you, in the end, I really just don't think it's very fun. The gameplay ends up being a little repetitive. The colors are drab, and I know that the whole scheme of the game visually is supposed to emulate a specific
console, yeah,
one-bit kind of environment.
Right, specifically the Game Boy, I believe, in this case.
But the colors they've chosen for the background are A, kind of drab and boring, and B, they have these single pixel things that grow and fade away in the background that are supposed to like kind of give it like a feel, like a texture. But instead, what they do is they made me constantly think that I needed to clean off my iPod.
That sounds like a personal problem to me, but...
Really? That never happened to you?
No, I never felt the need to... I felt like it made me feel like I was underwater. I felt like they were bubbles. I did think some of the levels where they changed the camera color were visually pleasing. Where you had kind of the fuchsia sunset. If you're playing this game and you're getting frustrated by which side the run and jump buttons are on, you can switch that in the options, because that made a huge difference for me. And since you can't run backwards, putting the run button on the reverse side of the screen would make a huge difference in terms of my thought mechanics. Alright, so there's been a bit of back and forth here. Overall, what would you give this game?
So, I like the mechanics, I like the idea of the platformer, and even the implementation isn't bad. But in the end, I really just didn't find this app fun. So, kudos to the developer. I like your idea, I like where you're going with it. Hopefully, in the future, or maybe, you know, you can come up with a different game that I might find more amusing to play. So in the end, I'm only going to give it a check, instead of that check plus that I'd like to give.
Okay. I would give this game a check +2 if it wasn't for the not being able to move backwards. That really bothered me. It seemed, in the end, like a pointless mechanic to me, because a lot of the puzzles, even though you have to use those springs to go back and forth, it would be so much simpler if you could just adjust yourself to move backwards. So because of that, I'm going to knock down my check plus to a check as well. So if you're a big fan of platformers, you might enjoy this game, but I would say only download this if you're willing to get used to those new mechanics or give those new mechanics a try, or if you're really excited about finding a game with new mechanics. However, if you don't want to take the time to get used to those, this game can be really frustrating at times.
Alright, so make sure to follow us on Twitter at GameCheckLive, or follow us individually at AppMatt and at GameArtistry. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the thumbs up. Go ahead and throw your own opinions in the comments, or leave the names of any apps you'd like to see us review. And we'll see you next time on GameCheckLive.
Are you sending me military signals?
On the couch, no idea what they're doing.